Good morning. Welcome to week 3. If you're just jumping into this and you haven't been a part of week 1 and 2, let me explain real quick to you. We're journaling through the New Testament, chapter by chapter, and we've been in the book of Luke. So far, we've gone through Luke. We've gone through Luke 1 through 10, and every day we're finding 4 things. We call it the HEAR method, H-E-A-R. Highlight. What verse or verses are you going to highlight? Explain what's the context of what you highlighted. Apply. How does that apply to your life? And then respond. How is that going to respond to you? So highlight, explain, apply, and respond. So welcome to week 3. This is day 1, and we're going to be in Luke 11 this morning. And I'm going to read my highlight today is Luke 11:42. And by the way, the reason I say my highlight is because we ask you in the comments section to share your highlight and exactly what God has spoken to you. Jesus is speaking, and he says this in his favorite group of people, Luke 11:42. But woe to you, Pharisees, for you tithe mint and rue and all manner of herbs, and pass by justice and the love of God. These you ought to have done without leaving the others undone. Jesus had a lot of criticism for the Pharisees because they had made their religion their God. And that's one of the difficulties of religion when we get deep into religion, that it's almost like we can be religious without God, and that's the mistake, and that's the problem. So as I begin to look at that, I want to share with you the application of my life, because he's talking about the tithe of the Pharisees, and the problem was not what they were giving as far as their tithe. The problem was not that they were obeying the law. That wasn't the issue that Jesus had with what they were doing. He said, as a matter of fact, he said, you ought to be doing those things. In our modern day, giving, maybe to the church, or doing, different charitable things, or, going to church, all the different things. That's not the problem that you're doing those things. That's what Jesus was saying to them. The issue was they were counting on the works they chose to be enough, rather than the works of compassion and the works of kindness and the works of justice and the work of love. They wanted to do it their way instead of God's way. And that's really a big challenge for all of us, to understand that sometimes we kind of think we know better than God. And so we want to plan this out and do it our way, and just say, okay, God, here's what I'm bringing you. Be pleased with it. And I think of Cain and Abel. Abel brought the sacrifice of the lamb, and he gave that sacrifice. Cain what he brought was good. He brought good vegetables. I'm sure he brought the best of what he had of the land. But God said, that's not what I asked for. And so we have to be really careful in our spiritual life to not just bring what we think is best and say, okay, God, you need to be happy with that. No, let's do what God requires us to do. And I wrote this in my journal here, that the letter of the law kills when it's done apart from the spirit of the law. We can be so good at letter of the law stuff, but God's calling us to understand what the spirit of the law is. And the spirit of the law is that justice and love, the fulfilling what Christ has called us to do. And so my response today is I need to examine my spiritual and religious priorities. Have I put anything else ahead of what exactly God wants done? So I just challenge you today what's your spiritual priorities? What's your religious priorities? And are you doing that because it makes you happy, or are you doing it because it makes God happy? Hope that's a challenge to you today. I'd love to hear what God's spoken to you today. Please share that with us. Have an awesome day.